Welcome to another episode of
The Dungeon Crashers. I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. And let's hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to be notified when we post new content. With all that being said, let's jump right into this build.
Well, last video we promised you a vampire, but not the sparkly kind, and we are going to deliver. We're going for a Vlad the Impaler type vampire. This isn't your charming romantic vampire, although he's fully capable of being so, but he's a brutal conqueror in service to the vampire warlord Koss the Bloody-Handed, or any warlike being that your DM is cool with sponsoring both paladins and warlocks, and has an affinity for the undead. Orcus might work, or Vecna, or perhaps Zos Tom, Lich Lord of the Phaean School of Necromancy, or a Warlord of Karnath and Eberron.
Yeah. For race, we're going with Damphir from Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. You aren't a true vampire, but closest as you can get for a playable race. As a Damphir, you get 3 +1 bonuses to your abilities, which you can divide however you like, but you can't put more than 2 on a single ability. You also get 60 feet of dark vision, the ability to climb at your normal pace, which improves at 3rd level to give you permanent spider climb effect. You also get a bite that does D4 piercing damage and uses your constitution bonus for your attack and damage. You can also drain with this bite a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. You'll want to read the rules on this, but basically you can either heal an amount equal to the damage done with the bite, or gain a bonus on the next attack roll or ability check you make equal to the number of the damage on the previous dice. Damphir is a legacy race, which means you could get it after you have already been playing another race. If you do, this replaces most of the racial abilities with the Damphir ones, but you maintain skills, proficiencies, etc. from your former race and appear as a member of that race. You will want to read the rules on this. If you start as a Damphir, you gain 2 skills of your choice and presumably pick what race you want to look like. The description of the race includes descriptions of your hunger for blood and ways you have to become a Damphir. We are going to be going with the second one on the chart, which says you're packed with a predatory deity, fiend, fae, or spirit causes you to share their hunger. This is strictly a roleplay thing, so you can pick whatever suits your campaign and background.
Yeah, speaking of background, you have some flexibility here since you get 2 bonus skills from being a Damphir, and most of the skills you want will be on your class list. The 2 backgrounds I think best suit for both skills and roleplay are Courtier and Soldier. Courtier plays up your ties to nobility, where Soldier emphasizes your experience in battle. I'm going to take Soldier here for intimidation and athletics, but for the most part any background you like will work. This is going to be another strength-based bruiser character, but it's going to be more subtle and refined than the beast character we made last week. The goal here is to work with the synergies between 2 subclasses. The classes we are working with are already pretty well known for being a good multi-class. It even has a nickname, the Padlock, from Warlock Paladin. The synergy is obvious. Both classes really benefit from charisma, and since Warlock spells come back on a short rest, they're great for smiting with. We're going a little deeper in exploring the synergy between Oath of Conquest and the Undead Patron. For the early part of the build, we'll mostly focus on Paladin, but at higher levels the Warlock really kicks in.
Yeah, we are starting with Paladin because we want heavy armor. For ability scores, we are going to focus on strength and charisma because these are going to be your bread and butter. We also need Constitution to be high because we are going to be out in the battle on the front lines most of the time. We also don't want negatives on Dex and Wisdom, so we are going to dump Intelligence. This makes sense for the roleplay standpoint as well as a mechanical one because you obviously aren't very bright. You swore an oath and sold your soul to an immortal, semi-divine undead, so maybe not the best thought out course of action. And while you don't have to be stupid to run out in the front of the battle and engage the most powerful enemy, regardless of the odds, it does help. We are using the point buy and putting 15 on strength, boosting it to 16 with one of our bonus points, 15 on constitution, boosting it up to 16 as well, 10 on dexterity, 10 on wisdom, 8 intelligence, and 13 on charisma, boosting it to 14 with our 3rd ability boost. You could mix this up a little and start with higher charisma instead of con, but at early levels we are relying on melee, so more constitution will pay off. We will definitely be boosting charisma later. For skills, we already have athletics and intimidation from our background. From our 2 free skills from Damphir, we will be taking perception because we need it and we can't get it from Paladin, and deception because we also can't get it from Paladin. From Paladin, we will be taking Insight and Persuasion. This really covers everything that we will be needing for this character.
And at first level, we get the Paladin's ability to detect celestials, fiends, and undead, and desecrated and consecrated areas. Charisma modifier times per day. We also get 5 hit points per level of Lay on Hands to spend on healing hit points for ourselves or our minions. And you can also spend 5 hit points worth of this to cure poison or disease. We're starting with heavy armor. Eventually you want plate mail. We're also taking a 2-handed melee weapon. If you can find room in this build for Warcaster feat, it would add a lot of value and let you use weapon and shield style. But we need the ability score improvements. However, if you roll ability scores and have some high starting numbers, go for it. I like Greatsword for both damage and style, but if you prefer reach, a glaive or halberd would work good as well. You'll also want something for range, at least for now. Hand axes and javelins are good. You won't need them after 2nd level.
At 2nd level, we would take our first Warlock level, and we are taking the Undead Patriot. You add the spells Bane and False Life to the Warlock spell list for you. You don't automatically know them. You still have to choose them as spells known if you want them. Also, you get an amazingly good ability that you can use proficiency times per long rest. This would be good if it were just once per rest, and not bad even once per long rest, but you can get it proficiency times per day. It's the Form of Dread. Read the rules, but basically you gain a 1d10 plus your wisdom plus your warlock level and temporary hit points. You are immune to being frightened, and once per turn, when you hit a creature, you can force it to make a wisdom save or be frightened of you until the end of your next turn. Read the effects of fear to see how good this is, but it gets even better as we level up and your Form of Dread lasts for a minute, which in most cases is a whole battle. We also get spells and cantrips. We start with 2 spells known and 2 cantrips, but only 1 spell slot. Lack of spell slots is the weakness for the Warlock, but they also come back on a short rest, and as we are multi-classing spellcasters, you can cast your Warlock spells from your Paladin slots and save your Warlock slot for a Smite. For cantrips, we want Eldritch Blast, which is why we're going to stop carrying ranged weapons. It is a D10 force damage, and its range is up to 120 feet. It can get even better with Invocations later. We also want Booming Blade, which lets you make a single melee attack, and if you hit, the target takes damage. If it voluntarily moves before the end of your next turn, both these cantrips do more damage as you gain levels, and once Booming Blade gets a 2d8 on its booming effect, it also adds a d8 damage on the initial hit. This will move up as we level as well. For spells, Hex is a must, adding in d6 damage to all melee attacks against the target you hex. For the second spell, there's a number of good choices. I like Hellish Rebuke, allowing you to use your reaction to deal damage to enemies that damage you. There are also other good choices. Just don't take Armor of Agathis. It's good, but you will get it free later.
Yeah. At 3rd level, it's tempting to take another Warlock level for Invocations, but we want to hit Paladin level 8 as soon as possible, so we're going to take our 2nd Paladin level here. You get a fighting style, we want great weapon fighting. We also get spellcasting. We're prepared casters and can select our spells after a long rest. We can pair a number of spells equal to half our Paladin level plus our Charisma modifier, so 3 right now. We also get Smite, letting us burn up a spell slot, either a Paladin or Warlock slot. When you do, add a d8 plus the level of spell slot in radiant damage on the hit, and an additional d8 versus fiends and undead. And at 4th level, we take 3rd level Paladins, swearing an oath. We're taking the Oath of Conquest. Paladins, usually being divine casters, swear this oath in the name of God. There isn't really a rule about this, but it seems implied. This isn't universal. The description of Oath of Conquest states that some Oath of Conquest Paladins swear their oaths to Archdevils. And I think an Archlich, Mummy King, or Vampire Tyrant probably rank about the same as Archdevils, so you should be able to take your oath to the same being you made a pact with. The oath gives you a few abilities at this level. The first is Channel Divinity. You can use Channel Divinity for an action to do one of 2 things, and you can use it once per long rest. First, you can exude a terrifying presence that forces everyone of your choice within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom save or be frightened of you for a minute. They can make a save at the end of each of their turns to shake this off. You can also use Channel Divinity to add a +10 to any attack roll. This doesn't specify melee attacks, so should work with range attacks and spell attacks, but ask your DM about that.
Yeah. You also get Oath spells, which are spells you always have prepared and don't count against the number you can prepare. Our first level Oath spells are Armor of Agathis, which I mentioned earlier, and Command. Command is a great here, even though you already have it on the Paladin list, because it is one you could probably prepare every day anyway. In our Star of the Show video, we talked about how good Command is. I'll put a link up in the corner. Our save DC isn't high as we'd like yet, but it is still good. At 5th level, we're taking our 4th level of Paladin, gaining the ability boost, and now we still need Strength. I really want to use it on Charisma, but not yet. So we'll put a +2 on our Strength, making it 18. Our cantrips level up here, making Booming Blade a D8 on a hit and 2D8 if it moves. Eldritch Blast improves to 2 rays, dealing a D10 each. You can put them on both on the same target or split them up.
And while we're talking about Booming Blade, there's a pretty unclear rule on what voluntary movement means. In our game, we treat it the same as the rule for attack of opportunity, so the extra damage would trigger if you use your movement to move, either whether from an action, a bonus action, or a reaction. However, if you don't use movement or an action to move, and are instead pushed by a person shoving you, or a Thunder Wave spell, or similar effect, or if you teleport away, it wouldn't trigger.
Yeah.
This would allow the damage to trigger if the opponent moves due to something like fear or command. However, your DM may say that voluntary movement means it has to freely choose to move, so fear or mind control wouldn't trigger the damage. I don't like the second one as a DM because it implies the spell is sentient and can decide that, well, this guy's running off and I should blast him, but he didn't really want to run, so I'll give him a pass. However, every DM has a vision for their world, so check with him or her.
Definitely. At 6th level, we're taking our 5th level of Paladin, getting an extra attack. Combined with Hex and now our 18 Strength, we should be stepping up as a melee monster, especially with Smite and Hex. Now you are probably better off attacking than using Booming Blade, but it did level up, and it will be useful in a lot of situations where using it is better. Our Oath spells at this level are Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon, and both are great. Spiritual Weapon doesn't use concentration, and it is a reliable source of bonus action damage, and it looks pretty awesome as well. Hold Person only works on humanoids, but at this level, you are still probably fighting those pretty often. And when it sticks, it is often a death sentence to the humanoid it sticks to. Just remember, it does use concentration, so it could conflict with Hex, and your save DC isn't the greatest yet. At 7th level, we're taking our 6th level of Paladin, getting Aura Protection, which is one of the best Paladin abilities, allowing you and your allies within 10 feet to add your Charisma modifier to their saving throw, any saving throw. Just all around great for you and giving your minions a bonus.
And at 8th level, we take 7th level Paladin, getting Aura of Conquest, which means any enemy within 10 feet that is frightened of you has its movement reduced to 0 and takes psychic damage equal to half your Paladin level, if it starts its turn there. Now, if we look back at our Form of Dread ability, when using it, we can make one creature that we hit per turn make a Wisdom save or be frightened of us. We also have a Channel Divinity that can make all enemies within 30 feet save or be frightened of us. So we can hit an enemy, make him frightened, which gives him disadvantage on attacks and ability checks, and reducing his movement to 0. On his turn, he takes psychic damage. Then on our turn, we can hit him again and frighten him again, rinse and repeat until he's dead.
Yep.
We also can frighten every enemy within 30 feet and make those that are within 10 feet of us immobile and taking psychic damage as you pick them off one by one. At 9th level, we take 8th level Paladin for an ability boost. And since we have a number of things we use saving throws for now, let's boost our Charisma by 2 points to 16, getting the save DC up and making our spell attacks more accurate. And at 10th level, we're going back to Warlock for our 2nd level. We gain Invocations here. We mostly went Agonizing Blast, which adds our Charisma modifier to our Eldritch Blast damage, and it applies to each beam. Now, while you're still better in melee, you're pretty strong at range as well. For our second evocation, anything will work. I like Eldritch Concentration to help maintain Hex, but take whatever you like because we're going to retrain it later. We also learn another first level Warlock spell and get another Warlock spell slot. Cause, Fear, and Charm Person are both on brand for you.
At 11th level, we're continuing with Warlock for level 3, getting our Pact Build. Pact of the Blade is what we are after. It lets us conjure a melee weapon that counts as magical for purposes of overcoming resistances. Also, if you have or get a magic weapon, you can turn it into your Pact weapon. Cantrips also improve at this level, giving you 3 beams for your Eldritch Blast and making your range attacks pretty attractive. Booming Blade now does a 2d8 extra on a hit and 3d8 on the boom, making it a viable alternative to straight attacking as well. You learn another Warlock spell, which can be of 2nd level, and your Warlock spell slots are now 2nd level. Blindness, Deafness, and Baptismal Force are added to the Warlock spell list for you and are both very good ways to disable an enemy. I prefer Phantasmal Force because trapping some guy in a scary illusion, say a swarm of zombie rats or something that he can't get out of, and deals psychic damage, just seems like it would be fun for the guy. However, second level Warlock spells have a wealth of good options, Minor Image, Misty Step, Invisibility, Suggestion, etc. Any of these, you just really can't go wrong. At 12th level, we're taking our 4th level of Warlock, getting an ability boost, which we are going to use on our Charisma, making it 18, further improving save DC and spell attack. Also improves our social skills, and we have all 3, so outside of combat, you are very good at lying, manipulating, corrupting, seducing, bullying, and other fun things like that. You also learn another 2nd level Warlock spell. You also can replace an invocation, so if you haven't gotten a magic weapon, I would retrain some other than Agonizing Blast to get improved packed weapon, making it a +1. We also learn another cantrip at this level. Again, there are a lot of good choices. I like Friends for a quick bit of mind control for when you don't have time for lying, manipulating, bullying, etc.
At 3rd level, we go back to Paladin for level 9. We get 3rd level spells here, and our oath spells are Fear and Bestow Curse. Both are good for you. Fear forces a save against everyone in a 30-foot cone, making them drop what they're holding and be afraid for the duration. And while afraid, it must take a dash action every round to move away from you by the safest route it can find. Note this says it must dash, so unless it can disengage the bonus action like a rogue does, this will provoke attacks of opportunity. If it gets out of line of sight from you, it can make another wisdom save to end the spell on it. Bestow Curse lets you force a creature to make a wisdom save or be cursed. There are 3 curse options, and all are pretty good for you. At 14th level, we take Paladin level 10. You get Aura of Courage, making you and your minions immune to being frightened.
At 15th level, we take 11th level of Paladin for improved Divine Smite, which makes all your attacks do an extra D8 radiant damage on a hit, even when you aren't smiting, and this stacks with smite damage. At 16th level, we take our 12th and final level of Paladin for an ability boost. Is this kind of up in the air on what we can take? Strength for our attack stat, but we are getting a lot of melee damage from spells and smites, so if you aren't having trouble hitting, it would be better to go with Charisma, which I'm doing here, but feel free to boost Strength if you need it. At 17th level, we go back to the Warlock for the rest of this build, getting Warlock level 5. We get more Invocations here. A couple of good options are Eldritch Smite, which lets you sacrifice a Warlock spell slot to deal a D8 force damage, plus a D8, 1d8 per level of the spell to an enemy that you hit, and if it is smaller than huge, you can knock it prone. This is a lot like Divine Smite, and you don't need it, but it is good for 2 reasons. One, if you don't mind burning up spell slots, you can use both on the same hit, dealing insane amount of damage. You will burn through spell slots fast, especially since you can only use Warlock slots, but if you need to kill something right now, this would do it. Also, if the knock prone ability makes it a little better than the Divine Smite, unless you are fighting fiends or undead. The other good one is Cloak of Flies, which gives you advantage on intimidation checks, but disadvantage on diplomacy checks. This is for when you are done being nice and just going to give them an ultimatum. Something like, tell me what you know or I will literally eat you. It also deals your Charisma modifier in poison damage to any creature within 5 feet of you, sadly including your minions, but remember how we are using our Form of Dread to immobilize and deal psychic damage to people while we slaughter them. Well, now they are taking poison damage on top of that as well. Pick the invocation you like best. You can also replace an invocation at this level, and since you should be using a magic weapon by now, I'm replacing improved pack weapon and taking both those last 2. We also get 3rd level spells and 3rd level slots. The spell Phantom Steed and Speak with Dead are added to the Warlock list. If you need a mount, you have Find Steed as a paladin for a while now, but Speak with Dead could be useful and in character. However, other options are Fly, Hunger of Hadar, and Spirit Shroud. So take what you need the most. Cantrips also improve. Again, here giving you 4 beams from your Eldritch Blast and 3d8 damage from your booming blade, and 4d8 boom is pretty much however you're attacking is going to be good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
Up close, at range, cantrip.
Yeah,
you're
you're
gonna hurt people.
Yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of damage at this point.
And at 18th level, we take Warlock level 6. You get Grave Touch, meaning you don't need to eat, sleep, or breathe. Now, as a vampire, this doesn't help you much because you get those already. But the no eating could resolve your hunger issues depending on your DM. I wouldn't rule it this way, but you never know. The good part is that once per turn, you can replace one of your attack's damage with necrotic. This could be nice if your opponent resists your weapon damage or is vulnerable to necrotic. It's kind of up to your DM whether this also affects the radiant force damage from your smites or damage from Hex and Spirit Shroud. Also, when using your Form of Dread, which you probably are most of the time now, when you roll to deal necrotic damage from this attack, you can add one more dice. And at 19th level, we take 7th level Warlock. We get an Invocation here, and there's nothing we really need, so whatever you like is good. I like improved dark vision because getting stuck with magical darkness is no fun. And 120 feet of dark vision is nice. We also get 4th level spells here, and 4th level slots. Since we don't have 4th level Paladin slots, you have to use these to cast your 4th level spells. Death Ward and Greater Invisibility are added to the Warlock list for you, and both are good. I'm going to take Greater Invisibility because we can spider climb at will, and have 120 feet of dark vision. Being invisible means you can sneak around just fine even in full plane.
Yep.
Well, we don't have stealth or good dexterity, so they'll probably hear you coming, but they won't see you up on the ceiling. Also, being invisible is a great boost in combat, even if they know you're there. It's concentration, so keep that in mind, and at this level, True Sight and See Invisibility aren't uncommon, so it won't always work. Shadow Moil, Dimension Door, and Ralithim's Psychic Lance and Banishment are also good choices. And at 20th level, we take Warlock level 8 for our last ability boost, capping off either Strength or Charisma, depending on what you did last time. Or if you feel you can make do with an 18 in one of those, then boosting Constitution to 18 would be a great move, or even taking the Tough feat. You also gain another 4th level spell.
And wow, this is a very evil dude. I know alignment isn't mandatory for any class, but I'm not sure how I would play this character anything but evil. If you do, I would love to hear how your backstory, to hear the backstory behind the character. This has a lot going on for it, and it can deal a huge amount of melee damage. Good range damage with the Eldritch Blast, a lot of spell utility, battlefield control from fear effects and Booming Blade, and a wicked combo between Form of Dread and Aura of Conquest, which lets you tank the main enemy and fight easily and deal huge amounts of damage to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this build. I might even use it as a villain the next time I DM.
Yeah, it'll be a great choice. And it would be great for a main villain in a campaign, and I think next week's build will also be great for a villain as well. If you're the type to want a horde of undead following you around killing things, then you'll want to stay tuned for our next week video. So, till next time,
Cheers.